So with that, let's go to the agenda. We will be quickly going over the Mecomed code as concept, and then we'll go over the key principle and pillars. We will hopefully be able to cover those 6 chapters mentioned in front of you, and at the end we'll quickly go over the different certification we are offering to our partners. Go ahead, Droga. All right, so our code has been there ever since sometimes back. However, just recently in January 2025, we have managed to conduct or reflect some update. I have, if I'm aware, as far as I'm aware, everyone sitting in this call should have received the revised code. If not, please let us know. We'll share them with you. Anyway, you can see in front of you the QR code that you can scan to be able to access both English and French versions. Next, please. So, the code of Mecomed were put in place to set the minimum standards for member company and for third-party institution. They are mainly there to govern our interaction with healthcare professional and healthcare organization, and to ensure that there is enough fairness in the practice, and as we always mention, fair ground to play for every individual or for all the companies available in the industry. Accordingly, with the code are intended to ensure that there is enough clarity and enough standard for all of us to follow. Now, very important message is to mention that those the intention of the code are not to supersede any law or regulation, or not even your company policy. So in case of any a deviation, the more stringent rule apply. Next, please. So as a basic or fundamental element of those code, we ensure that we have covered all those important risks. So the image and perception, companies and distributor are always, should be mindful of our image, of the perception projected by the public, of course, and by the healthcare professional, and also we the risk of equivalence, to ensure that the equivalence is always there. So all the remuneration, the member company or a third party are paying for healthcare professional should be, within the acceptable market value. And of course, separation as a important conflict where, interaction between industry and healthcare professional should be always independent from sales and marketing interest, of course, and the transparency as an important element as well. So we are also, requested to ensure that all our interaction with healthcare professional are transparent, and this is where employer notification comes into effect. Don't worry, all of those elements will be covered further in the upcoming slides. We're only, talking about the key principle, and definitely we all know the importance of documentation and documenting and having written agreement in place in every single interaction or activity with healthcare professional. Next, please. So obligation, our obligation as a member company. So here I'm addressing this message to both member company and third party, which is distributor. The Mecomed code should be applied at all time. And as I already mentioned, definitely if you have more stringent rule, that's there. However, Mecomed code should be applied at all time, and definitely conference vetting system that we will have enough time to talk about. So should be applied as well. So we'll definitely explain more. So any third party event, we need to consider that they are all compliant with the CVS. Next, please. So the first part that we will be covering, the guidelines on the interaction with healthcare professional and healthcare organization. Next, please. So we will talk about the general criteria. Yeah, I'm sorry, let me just, okay. Continue. I'm mindful of the time. So general criteria for events. The principle that sits out in this chapter should apply to all events supported by member company, irrespective who's going to organize this event. So we will be looking at the minimal elements. I think we're all aware of them, but here, as far as this training, we're gonna shed light on the key messages, and also maybe focus a little bit on some of the key highlights of what the new code update brought to the new version. So when we're talking about the general criteria of company events, we will focus on the event program, the travel element, the event location, hospitality, reasonableness of the hospitality, guest, of course, and transparency. Next, please. Okay. Okay. All right. Perfect. So in every event program, we will always start by doing this simple assessment. The first one is to assess the attendance and see the relevance of the attendance, especially when it comes to, are they the healthcare professional that are included or invited? Are they the right selection, and are they the people that we should include in this specific activity? Schedule or the agenda of the activity needs to be, thoughtful, and we should be also mindful of the timelines of the agenda to qualify for, a complete event. Accordingly, there is a minimum timelines that are recommended. So for the duration of the agenda, we're recommending 3 hours for half days and 6 hours for the full day. This is excluding any refreshment and meal breaks. Next. Okay. The location and venue, they're always key elements of also once we prepare or arrange for any event. So the selection of the location and the venue should be considered different or some minimal factors. The first thing, we need to ensure compliance, that the location itself of the venue comply with the local law and regulation. The venue should be easily accessed, we recommend that, or the recommendation is that, public transportation accessibility, airport, near to airport or main roadway and so, roadways and so on. The capacity of the location to be able to accommodate the attendance and to have enough space for safety purpose and sufficient, comfortable, as we say, space. Also, the amenity and the facility of the location and the venue should be suitable. So it should be well equipped, and the healthcare professional should be able to, conduct their training effectively. At the end of the day, all of those are a basic element of how we can conduct an effective and professional interaction or event with our healthcare professional. Location and venue, in principle, it is not appropriate to engage any kind, as we know, there's two major elements over which we always avoid: entertainment and luxuriosity. So company, when they organize their event, we need to avoid resort. We need to avoid, of course, entertainment and anything to do with the ceremony, big event, sport event, golf, casino, private beach access. All of those are the prohibited element of things we look at when we are arranging or preparing for, or planning for our activities. Exceptions might be always considered once you want to adapt or you want to conduct your business meeting or plan for your business meeting, but there should be for a strong reason. For example, if we have a lack of any alternative or a lack of safety or security issue, those kind of consideration can be taken, of course, into account. However, on an exceptional basis, enough rationalization and documentation for those exceptions. Next, please. So nothing changed. We guessed or sponsoring anyone other than the actual HCP or our HCP that we are engaging with is not allowed under any circumstances. Travel are always needs to be reasonable and suitable. So we are continuing with our 5 hours air time when it comes to business class. So anything below 5 hours, it should be economy. Other than that, 5 hours and plus, we can consider business class. For reasonable hospitality as well, we know that when if there is an engagement, we might want to sponsor other element of the cost, such as transportation and, of course, a meal. And this should be subject to, again, the fact that it should be reasonable. So, and this is usually outlined within your company policy, how much reasonable meal limit and what is a reasonable transportation. A provision of alcohol was also added or clarified further in the new code. So I will read it out loud. If permitted by local law, because in some country it's not even permitted. So, and go back to the most stringent rule apply. Provision of alcohol may include modest alcohol consumption with the meal, and the company may consider adopting control, including drinks type and spending limit of healthcare professional working hours. Alcohol usually should be provided with the meal and should not be provided as a gift. Next, please. As part of also planning for activities and or what are the different type of element that we need to look at, employer notification for transparency is an important element. So we should maintain an appropriate documentation for transparency by sending employer a notification prior of the activity. It should be a written notification within a reasonable time. We have a company, I'm sure, or as far as I know, different company have a different timelines of a prior notification of the employer. So you need to follow that timelines as long as it's reasonable to allow the employer to object in case of any objection. However, it should be sent to the hospital administration, to the supervisor of the healthcare professional, or to authority in case this is required by authority. The employer notification also should be for all kind of activity, on whether it's a sponsorship of a training or for consultancy. So any kind of interaction still require an employer notification. The only time that the cases where there is incidental interaction, business as usual activity, those are the type of activity that could be excluded from the employer notification. All right, next, please. On the employer notification also, we covered this, the incidental interaction, event participant, this has been already covered. Okay, another major change, sorry, on the previous slide, another clarity or clarification that was brought in the new code is the self-employed. So if you have a self-employed healthcare professional, all you need to do also to evidence that and to document that, then no longer you need to send any employer notification in this case. Next, please. All right. So education grant, we require transparency, which means not only transparency that we have mentioned earlier, but the transparency of reporting to Mecomed as well. So it's subject to Mecomed disclosure for any education grant activity, and this is all outlined in part 2 of the code. General criteria of the event. We, when it comes to virtual and hybrid event, there is also some further update we will be outlining. However, virtual and hybrid events must comply with any part of the code that is by its nature applicable to them. And also company may provide financial and in-kind support of any virtual and in-kind event in accordance, of course, of the rule outlined in the Mecomed code. Next. Third-party organized event. Third-party organized event are all the kind of events we know, whether conference or training or even satellite symposium, the little symposium that fit into those third-party events. They all are, need to apply to CVS or conference vetting system. The educational events, third-party or educational event have some general guidelines, and they should be. We should be looking at. The program should be scientific in nature, so scientific program of those third-party educational events should be fully owned by the organizer and in line with the business specificity of the member company. The member company should not have any influence of selection of the topic of the content of those program, so the agenda should be fully owned by the third party and the speaker as well. No direct sponsorship. We all know by now, it's been a while now that we have phased out the direct sponsorship for third-party event, so we cannot or we should not be sponsoring directly healthcare professional to go to third-party events. And all of those kind of events should be CVS approved, as I mentioned earlier. When it comes to third-party event, the sponsorship package or the way they are offered those package should be also assessed in alignment with the minimum criteria. Usually, CVS takes care of all of those assessments. However, in general, and to be able to quickly remind you, so we should not enter in any sponsorship package if they are not transparent and clearly detailing all the value and the benefit that comes in align with those packages. So we need to know what we are paying for. Non-permissible benefit, including gift, business, class ticket, 5 hours. So every time a third-party event is assessed and as part of the package, we also need to ensure that those packages are in compliance with everything we have mentioned earlier in our code, including the sponsorship or the hospitality details when it comes to how much we're paying, what kind of, the cost of the different things. So again, we apply the rules of, 5 hours and below only economic class. In a modest destination, we cannot go to high touristic, venues or for accommodation and so on. So the whole policy apply when it comes to those package. Member company also must. I still have 2 points. Okay, we also must ensure that any package is free from, free passes. So we do not also offer free passes to healthcare professional. If at all necessary, we can always use them ourselves, but we cannot pass them to healthcare professional. And it's enough because I think also Ruba will be covering a lot of that in her section when it comes to CVS. Next, Ruba. And when it comes to educational and third-party organized educational events, direct versus indirect, when we have decided to move from or we phased out direct sponsorship, we decided that, when it comes to any third-party event and if there is any request received by a healthcare organization on the possibility of member company to sponsor those kind of attendance to healthcare professional, then this activity should be routed through the education grant, which means member company, or of course, I will be using the word, by the way, member company, but this means member company and distributor along the way. So member company are allowed to pass those, kind of requests. However, they need to ensure that they have independent system when it comes to the selection and the agreement on whether to grant this kind of, education grant to a healthcare organization by proving completely against selection of the individual that are going to third-party event. So we can always do that. However, we need to use an independent system where there's enough control over the risk of conflict of sales, which means sales and marketing team are not sitting on the selection of the activity, and there's independent committee that decide on whether this grant can be granted or not. Next, please. Third-party event can be, as we all know, there are two types: education, conference, and procedure training. Next, and we'll be talking about both of them in the coming slide. So, both on when it comes to third-party event, and whether they are education and conference that are organized by a third party to deliver, an important, let's say, medical activity or scientific activity for knowledge purpose or so on, or they can be also at a procedure training, which means those kind of typical hands-on training organized on a clinical environment, let's say. All of them are qualified or sit on the category of educational events, third-party educational events. So let's a little bit talk about what is around those, or what are the key principles when it comes to education conference. So member company, sorry, all right, member company can specify the healthcare professional when it comes to what we can do about it. Of course, we already mentioned that we cannot select healthcare professional. However, if at all necessary, we can always mention, because at the end of the day, I'm not going over all the details. However, we all know that once we decide on the, let's say, if you receive a request on a third-party event sponsorship and you agree on that, you want to have some kind of minimum standard or terms and condition over which you expect your fund to be spent. So accordingly, we can always mention something to do with the specialty of the healthcare professional, but we cannot select the healthcare professional, let's say, or even the seniority. So you cannot be, mention the title or so on. And with that, we can support them, of course, in education grant, or even by providing any kind of satellite symposium or promotional activity as well. And for the procedure training, when it's a standalone training and meeting direct HCP sponsorship is permissible in this case. For educational conference, no direct sponsorship. For procedure training, where it qualifies as a procedure training, and there is enough agenda that evidence that it is a hands-on training, then this is where direct sponsorship is permissible. Of course, with some condition, the support can always be also granted in a form of education grant, satellite symposium, also as part of it, promotional activity, and direct sponsorship for standalone procedure. All of them, both of them, as I mentioned earlier, should be approved by CVS. Next. So third-party procedure training must be vetted by CVS. All of this was mentioned already, and I think I covered this, Ruba, so you can go to the next. I said it verbally. All right, let's talk a little bit more about satellite symposium, which is one of the topics that create confusion usually. So let's go to the next slide. A company organized event, and as defined by Mecomed code. So satellite symposium are those sessions that are conducted during a third-party event, but they are considered a company organized event. They take place always in a third-party event, as we said, and they should address the educational topic that is aligned with this third-party event. So quickly to summarize that, satellite symposium are those sessions or workshop or small session that we pay for as part of the third-party event, but they are completely owned by us. So they are our events for this small session, and we have full control of the agenda, full control of activity. Definitely, when you are conducting a similar activity, it should be in alignment with the general topic of the third-party event. Next. So what is permissible for a member company to do? To select the speaker for the satellite symposium, to directly sponsor and engage with the speaker, of course. So everything to do with the speaker, of course, if you are selecting a speaker and you are hiring someone to conduct this training, you might want to consider sponsoring the expense that comes along with that. Then paying or the cost of that will apply. Of course, the general rule will apply. Then you need to consider the fair market value of his hourly rate, consider signing an agreement, consider all those important matters. His flight ticket should be economy class because it's less than 5 hours and so on, as long as it is in compliance with our code. Inviting healthcare professional also to attend the satellite symposium is possible. But we can invite them definitely, since they are there already, but we cannot pay for any of their cost, right? What else we didn't mention? All of this is clear. I want to also cover the new element. If required for speaker to access the satellite symposium, member company should only pay for most restricted package. So the registration fees must, where possible, be provided to the actual attendance required in order to deliver the agreed service. Example, if the satellite symposium is held in a single day for a 3-day event and is possible to choose a 1-day registration, that option should be selected. Provide also participation at satellite symposium with reasonable and modest hospitality is possible. So providing a snack, that's okay. Member company can engage with faculty already identified as a speaker in the general program, and can pay for their honorarium of their service to the satellite symposium. So they're already there. I know he's there. I can hire him to come and do the, my satellite symposium service. However, member company must not cover for the travel and accommodation in compliance with Chapter 5. All right, next, please. I think this is covered already, but let me, to cover any additional hospitality or expense for speaker of member company on a satellite symposium to attend the third-party education event, example, accommodation for all the event, this is already covered. We cannot do that. All right, next. Engagement with consultant in a company organized event during third-party conference. Company organized event, including fees for service arranged like advisory board and clinical investigator meeting, may be organized at or around a third-party organized education event or conference for reasons of convenience. Of course, we all know we want to take advantage of that, their presence, and that's everyone's aim. So we can do that, and healthcare professional must have an active role to such a company event. So if you want to engage with them, and that's possible. However, they have to have an active role rather than just being a delegate. So member company can ensure compliance of the company organized event with the principle mentioned already in the part 1 and in the chapter 1 as well. All right. And I think this is already covered and it's pretty clear. All right. Let's go to the next page. All right, Ruba, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Myrna. Hi, everyone. So I'll be going through the conference vetting system, a brief overview of what it is, and the reviewed criteria that we have, and the launch of the new platform. So the conference vetting system is an independently managed system which reviews the compliance of third-party educational events with the Mecomed code. It's used to determine the appropriateness of companies to participate in these events in terms of commercial activities like booths, advertising, or satellite symposias, or to provide financial support in terms of educational grants. So CVS decisions are binding on all Mecomed members and their third-party intermediaries and distributors as well, even if those distributors were not associate members of Mecomed. I want to highlight this point because it's very, very important, and I want to stress on it because we did receive a lot of cases with regards to this. So this has been clarified in the code. As you can see highlighted in blue and underlined, member companies and their third-party intermediaries cannot support any third-party educational event if the final outcome is one of the following. If the event is not submitted to CVS at all, then participation or support is not permitted. If the event is not assessed because of late submission, this is also not permitted to participate. If in the case that not enough documentation is submitted and so the event cannot be reviewed, this would be not assessed insufficient information and participation is not permitted as well. And if the event is also assessed with a final decision of not compliant. In the case that any of these following decisions are made final on CVS, then the member company and third-party intermediaries and distributors cannot support the educational event. So CVS is applicable to all types of third-party educational events, whether international, regional, national, or local. You can check all the events that are submitted on the platform using the link that's highlighted here. Different stakeholders can do the submissions on the platform, like professional conference organizers, any MedTech, Mecomed members or distributors, or medical societies and healthcare organizations. We do have the platform is basically shared with MedTech Europe, so you can access the platform and make any submission through the Ethical MedTech Conference Vetting System website that's linked here. The final decision can only be rendered when all the documents are submitted, completed, and reviewed. And when you come to make a submission, there is no charges that apply, and it is free of charge for submissions. Events, or let's say events that are excluded from CVS assessment, so they are out of scope of assessment on CVS, means they do not require CVS approval, are virtual events for third-party organized events, any trade shows, any non-educational and policy-making events, any company organized events, public awareness campaigns, and any national third-party in-institution activities. This is just brief steps on how to submit an event on the CVS platform. You can access the platform through this link. I will be going through the brief overview of the new platform that we launched in the next couple of slides, but this is the new link that you can use to access the platform. And you can start by logging in and registering as a new user in the case that you don't have an account already. We do have the option of pre-clearance submissions. This is only in the case that you want to check on the compliance of a location and a venue, and if it's prior to 6 months from the event start date. And if you are the organizer of the event, then you can go for a pre-clearance submission. In other cases, then you can just go for a regular submission. Please make sure to always include the EMT reference number when getting in contact or communicating with the CVS officer. And in the case that any additional information is requested, you can always add missing documents or clarify anything directly through the platform on the submission. Any submissions that are made to CVS for third-party educational events must be done 50 days prior to the event starting date and no earlier than, early and preferably earlier than this, but no later, but no less than the 50 days. It will take up to around 35 days to do assessments for events, depending on the start date of the event and also the availability of the full documentation to review the event and finalize the assessment. This is also very important. I want to highlight that to, let's say, not miss out on the 50-day timeline, the minimum submission that's required on the system is the name of the event, the date of the event, the name of the venue, and the location of the event. So if we always say that it's important to at least submit this minimum information. And then to finalize the assessment, we just need a detailed program with a clear time frame format. We need communication support like website, brochure, or flyer of the event, and the registration fees and benefits for the delegates, like benefits like lunches, gala dinners, coffee breaks, anything that's included within the fees of the registration. So this is the criteria that we look at when reviewing an event: the scientific program, the geographic location, the conference venue, registration fees and hospitality, and the communication support. All these criteria have the same weight in the assessment process, and in any case, one of them is marked non-compliant. This results in a final non-compliant decision for the whole event. I want to highlight, as Mirna mentioned earlier in Chapter 2, as you can see, sponsorship packages are no longer a criteria that's reviewed under CVS specifically. We moved this to the general criteria for events, for third-party educational events. And this is with the update of the new platform, and due to the high-level review that we were doing for sponsorship packages, the criteria was reviewed and sponsorship packages are no longer part of the criteria. This will be up to each member company's compliance officer to review it internally. So looking into the criteria more specifically, the detailed program should present a clear schedule with no gaps during the scientific sessions. For a full day, it should be 6 hours, and for a half day, it should be 3 hours, excluding any refreshments or meals and breaks. And the faculty for each session should be identified, and the sessions should be of a medical subject. Entertainment should not be included in the main program, like sightseeing tours or any activities that are of, let's say, fall under the entertainment category. I also want to say it should comply with the rules mentioned for general criteria for events in Chapter 1 as well. For example, if you have a 3-day event on the first day, if it was a half day, it should be scheduled on the second half of the day to allow for participants that are arriving in the morning to have time to arrive. And also, if it's, let's say, 3 days and the last day is also a half day, it should be scheduled in the morning, or let's say in the first half of the day. This is also to allow for the conference to end and to allow for participants to leave. Also to avoid any unjustified gaps in the program. And essentially, if it's 3 days, let's say, then the middle day, of course, cannot be a half day. It has to be a full day so that there is no gaps. Looking at the location, it should not be the main attraction of the conference and should not be touristic of nature or a holiday destination. Let's say it should not be in a desert or remote island or anywhere in the mountains. It should be also accessible near like a city or a town which has airports and highways. The event venue should also be a business or commercial center that's obviously providing conference facilities. It should not be perceived as over luxurious, touristic, as Mirna mentioned, having a golf course or aqua parks or adventure parks. Looking at hospitality, it should include accommodation, meal breaks, any opening reception or gala dinner. It's just important to point out that to differentiate between the hospitality that is permitted and then entertainment, which is not. Entertainment like live music, dancing, any sightseeing trips, any sporting events, or any hospitality that's offered to spouses, partners, or families or guests of the delegates. Looking at registration packages, the fee should only cover the scientific program and only modest activities and hospitality. Entertainment should not whatsoever be included in the registration packages and registration fees should not cover attendance of spouses, family members, or partners. Lastly, communication support. Any materials that are promoting the event, like the website, the brochure, or the flyers, should not have excessive images or references of, let's say, non-scientific activity and should not over-promote the location or the venue, but should instead highlight the scientific program and the content of the event. In the case that a decision is finalized as non-compliant on the system, then an appeal may be filed. It can be done by the member company or the professional conference organizer or the healthcare organization on the platform. Justification and reasoning should be shared, and then this will get received by the CVS officer, which will then forward the appeal to the Mecomed Compliance Core Committee. The committee will assess the appeal and all the relevant documents and justification, and then we'll get back with a decision within 10 working days. I don't know if there's someone speaking. Sorry, I just... So, just wait until... Please mute yourself if you're... So, as you know, we were in the process of finalizing the implementations to launch the new platform for Mecomed region, and we're happy to announce that we officially launched on February 1st. Just some key dates to remember. The old platform, to allow for a grace period, is still working, but will be discontinued after February 28th. So any events that are submitted on the old platform after February 28th will not be assessed. Just to clarify some points, the old platform, or let's say the current platform and the new platform, are completely two different platforms, and they're by two different providers, so the events will not get transferred onto the new platform. But this is why we're saying anything submitted before the 28th of February will continue to be assessed on the current platform, or the old platform. I'll refer to it as CVS 1.0. And then after February 28th, we will fully be transitioning to the new platform. However, we do encourage that you start the submissions on the new platform to get used to it and fully move to that by the 28th of February. In the case that you want to access a step-by-step guideline on how to submit the events on the new platform, you can scan this QR code. You can also access the Mecomed website under the conference vetting system tab, where there's more details on how to submit an event. I'll also be going through a brief overview of how the new platform looks as well, and the key changes in the next slides, which should be, so this is how the new platform looks. Sorry, I mean, it's similar to the information that that's provided, let's say, is the same in the old platform versus the new one. It's just the way the platform looks, let's say, is much more easier to navigate around, and you can provide more streamlined communication within the platform. This is how it looks when you come to submit an event. As you can see, the different information for the location, the venue is under different tabs, and you can navigate through each tab and fill out all the necessary information. So this is the key changes. It seems like a complicated slide, but I'll just point out one thing that's important, and then we can go through each of the examples mentioned here. Some of the terminology changes is that there is no provisionally compliant as a status anymore. In the platform, in the CVS 1.0, we would give a status of provisionally compliant in the case that some documents were submitted. However, not everything was submitted. And so if the submitted documents were compliant, then we would give a status of provisionally compliant, so that it's a provisional assessment. In the case that everything is submitted, then we would finalize the assessment as compliant. In the new platform, this is no longer a status, and the new terms that will be used are pre-cleared in the case that you apply for a pre-clearance. Under review, when the CVS officer starts the review of the event, it turns into under review as a status. And in the case that the CVS officer asks for more information or is still reviewing the documentation, then this would be waiting for information as a status. So if we look into more detail on how the platform looks, we can see that you can request for information directly through the messaging system in the platform. This makes it much more easier to communicate with the submitter and clarify anything or ask for more documents, and also makes it more centralized within the platform. The appeal is also done directly through the system. When the decision is finalized as not compliant, this icon appears up, the little thing here, and then once it's you can directly click on it, and then you can provide all the necessary documentation through this. We did used to receive a lot of double entry events. So this is a very, very useful new feature in the platform. And so if there is an event that's entered more than once by different stakeholders, then it automatically recognizes it in the system and doesn't allow you to resubmit in the case that the event was already submitted. If you are the organizer of the event, then you can directly claim ownership so that you can actually make changes and adapt the event, basically change and, edit the review or the submission. In the new platform, there is no calendar anymore. So you can directly search for the events by filling out any information that's related to the event, and then it will directly come up through this link. There's still the follow feature where you can follow the event and then you can get updates on the status. And this is it with regards to CVS. Mirna, I will give it back to you for chapter 3.
Okay. So we'll be talking about the company organized event. Next, please. Covered in chapter 3. All right, so company events are the most interesting one. We all understand and appreciate the importance of those at the end of the day to be able to interact with healthcare professional and to show talk about our product for whether a promotion or educational reason. This is the nature and the fundamental part of the way we are doing our business. So we may organize those events definitely and invite healthcare professionals or engage with them to those events on whether they are educational or in certain cases, it requires a manufacturer or site visit, or even for promotional events. All of those are different scenarios that we can, adapt as long as we apply to the code. Next, please. Just a quick reminder here. Anything to do with company event, this will not require CVS approval. So CVS is only focused on third-party events. Next, please. Right, so for educational event, again, the fact that we need to educate people on our product, our service solution, how to do things, clinical procedure, how to use the product, all of that is very important to show them how to use the product effectively and safely, and how to use our technology. So, there is always a great, however, the rationalization and the justification should be there to ensure that there's enough legitimate purpose of any activity, and accordingly you can plan for your training and to ensure that it is appropriate to engage with the right healthcare professional that can benefit from those training and to educate them on the right objective and to do your activity. Similarly, if you are into doing any kind of marketing or promotion activity, that is a different set and it needs to be treated in that aspect. And you need to also ensure that they're completely separate. And especially when it comes to education, the most important part is to prove that activity against any conflict of sales or marketing. Next, please. So on the manufacturing visit, the company organized event when it comes to manufacturing visit, that's something we all do. Reference center also arrangement, that is also there. Again, I think we're repeating this all the time, but always the basic and the first step or assessment that we do in every activity is to ensure that those are legitimate. We're doing them for a good reason, for the right reason, and they're rationalized very well when it comes to legitimate purpose. And all of that takes into consideration different elements. On the manufacturer visit specifically, proximity matters. So when it comes to sponsoring healthcare professional to go to do those kind of visits, we need to consider the closest location to our country. So if you are in UAE, you should consider something within the close in UAE, definitely, if not possible, like in our region. If not, then you go to the next option, and so on. And the program, when it comes to those visits, should be tight to the minimum possible. So to the extent and the purpose of the visit itself, the agenda should be full day and must include, of course, education and scientific sessions specifically. Next, please. On the company promotional event, where we want to organize event and to discuss, or negotiate any terms related to, sales or marketing, or with healthcare professional, including, product launch, because product launch also fall within the company promotional events. That's great things that we all do, but we might want to, also provide reasonable and modest transportation sponsorship in case needed, and we can also provide meals or incidental meal, or within your meal limit, company meal limit. However, we cannot pay or sponsor any other cost, which means flight or accommodation, unless necessary. And this goes through a lot of details. However, let me just quickly mention for non-portable device, or where there is any safety or security or any reason on why you cannot, do that without those kind of additional costs, then this might be considered. However, general rules, we only pay for land transportation, and we pay for meals as long as the promotional events. All right, next, please. Remember that we cannot directly sponsor the travel or any accommodation or expenses for individuals that are, passive participant or delegate at company event happening during or around or in connection of a third-party event. That was mentioned already. So if you are sponsoring, a healthcare professional in an event, company event, but it is happening during a third-party event, we cannot, pay for their travel cost and accommodation as well. Next, please. Arrangement with consultant. Here we'll talk about the consultancy arrangement. Again, the criteria, it is almost always the same. We always start with assessing the legitimate business need of any interaction with healthcare professional, the separation of any conflict. We are not doing this for any other reason other than the fact that this healthcare professional is needed for this activity, and with the right justification and rationalization. The event itself, the general criteria of the event, it's compliant, the agenda, the venue, the location, and all of that, of course, and the selection of the healthcare professional. I'm sure each company also, they have their own policy that outline and specify how to select or what would qualify, the right way of selecting a healthcare professional consultant to do your service. Fair market value is always there. It's the basic principle. So on whether we're talking about fee for service, hourly rate of the healthcare professional, and how much we are to pay this individual, there should be a mechanism or system in place to identify how much I can pay this individual based on his qualification, experience, CV, current job, and all of that. And definitely this would qualify for an hourly rate, and this is the way it should be documented and rationalized when it comes to hourly rate for fair market value. So similarly, we need to apply the same thing when it comes to the sponsorship cost, and we've already mentioned all of that. And whether we're paying for the meal, it should be within your meal limit, and whether we're paying for hotel, it should be within the hotel limit. A simple example out of the company don't allow 5 stars hotel. It should be only 4-star hotel for accommodation, let's say. Or If we're paying for transportation, it should be modest. We cannot hire a limo for transportation, for example. And when it comes to, air flight, we only can pay for economic class if it's less than 5 hours. So all of that should be come into effect when we're talking about fair market value. We do not interact with healthcare professional on whatsoever, other than the business as usual and incidental interaction without written agreement. So for consultancy arrangement, we need to make sure that there is always a documented agreement in written, signed by the authorized signatory before we proceed. And employer notification, we have said a lot, but we will also cover a little bit more here. A record of use and proof of performance should be also in place at all time. Next, please. That was covered. I spoke a lot, but this was already said. Okay, and that is also, I already mentioned the separation, healthcare professional, document and written. I said that. I think I covered all of that in the previous slide. Okay, go ahead. Next. Okay, I think here, because at the end of the day, on whether you're doing a sponsorship or a consultancy, they're all applying to the same principle when it comes to the minimum set of mandates or risk control that should be in place. So whether we're talking about fair market value that I've already mentioned, or employer notification for both consultancy arrangement or sponsorship, they're both equally the same. So we cannot start any activity without assessing the activity legitimate need. So especially here for consultancy, hiring a consultant needs to be assessed very well. The selection of the consultant needs to be documented as well very well. I think most of us, or most of the company, are always starting with the assessment by saying, if we have someone locally in the company that is able to provide this kind of speech or training, why we're hiring someone external, we always start like this. And then if we are hiring an external, why we're selecting this doctor? Is he the right person? Is he qualified enough or eligible enough to conduct this kind of training, and so on? Everything within this, the consultancy arrangement should be documented, as I said, including the presentation the doctor is going to provide and all of that, and everything needs to be aligned as part of your legal document. I'm sure everyone is consulting with their local legal team to ensure that your legal document that you're signing with your healthcare professional sufficiently address all the various risks, including transparency, including privacy, including and so on, and definitely conflict of interest and all the important elements. And those documents are in place and signed by both parties before any activity, the start of the activity. One of the very important matter, notifying the employer. And let me quickly elaborate. Employer notification is part of, as I mentioned earlier, transparency requirement. However, it's more and more it's deemed important for a lot of reasons. However, we need to evidence and allow the employer to be notified, informed only. So the requirement around the employer notification is to inform the employer. And here quickly, I think there is a slide for that, but as usual, I'm a storyteller. As part of that, you need to send an email or you need to evidence that you have informed the employer, either whether through an email or mail or fax, any kind of notification that can be possible. Even sometimes people consider handing over and signing. That's a different story. However, as far as you can document that you have informed the employer in any mean possible that is suitable for you, and he was informed and he has no objection. That's the purpose of that transparency reporting. Ethically, we cannot engage with the healthcare professional without informing their employer and allowing them to object in case there is any visibility or potential conflict that we are not aware of, for example. Can we move to the next one, please? Okay, so we have spoke a lot about employer notification. It seems that it was covered in a different way. However, we haven't covered one point or a few points. So if we're talking about completely virtual interaction, for virtual interaction, we don't need to inform employer. And for face-to-face event, whenever there is a travel and accommodation cost or sponsorship associated, then this is where we need also to notify the employer. For third-party events, this is not applicable, as we know. Third-party events, anyway, we don't select the healthcare professional. Employer notification arrangement with consultant, it is applicable all time. So for any consultancy, advisory, any kind of speaker arrangement, it is applicable at all time, and it needs to be there, documented and in place. Next, please. Okay, so I think this is something pretty straightforward. We all agree that this industry is very sensitive when it comes to the outflow or inflow of any unnecessary promotional items. So historically, we used to call them gifts or giveaway, and we decided not to use those terminology anymore. So for any promotional or educational items provided to healthcare professional or healthcare organization, this include inexpensive promotional aid, branded reminders or branded items, or even non-branded items such as calendar or so on, mousepad, whatever. Those are there. However, all of those needs to also to comply to the general principle and can be provided to healthcare professional on the reasonable basis. I just want to remind you that each company, they have their own also. They should outline in their policy what reasonable giveaway should qualify, what exactly is allowed, what is not allowed. I am aware of a lot of companies that are completely moving away from, let's say, electronic, and even USP, let's say, and so on, because of the risk associated when it comes to technology and control and so on. So it depends of your company. However, those are within very limited, bases and within the, principle or the general criteria of our code. Next, please. We always say we cannot provide anything when it comes to promotional item. Also, we cannot provide anything personal. We cannot provide anything, so definitely chocolate, flowers, all kind of birthday cake are completely discouraged. So, and by the way, when it comes to promotional and educational items that are provided to healthcare professional, healthcare organization, all this process also needs to be documented, and company are encouraged to, have a proper policy and documentation mechanism of the outflow of those items in general. So, they should be educational, they should be relevant to this professional setting. So should be related to the healthcare professional interest. So something related to this industry, appropriate to this the interaction we have between us and our healthcare professional. We all know that we love notepad, branded pen and pencils, branded mugs usually are the type of things we usually offer. Journals and educational item that can be provided, of course, as I said, such as a journal subscription under healthcare professional individual name, should be accompanied by an official healthcare professional nomination letter issued by the healthcare organization. That's it. Next, please. Demonstration, product, and sample, chapter 10. This topic has been very also interesting, and I'm sure that, you know, it's a very basic part of everything we're doing. We definitely need to use product or equipment for demonstration purpose, and we definitely need to give our customers some sample for trial purpose. The key takeaway here is that this policy should, within all of a member company, on how we can provide demonstration product and sample or free of charge should be very clear, that it is only done on the basis of safe and effective and appropriate use of our product and service. And, you know, there's a lot of details when it comes to this policy on, you know, demonstration product and sample that are giving should be, should be branded or tagged very well to ensure that they are not for human use. For example, when it comes to demonstration equipment, here I'm talking about the demonstration used in an exhibition, let's say, or so on. So all of this little details when it comes to demonstration product and sample policy is very important to be outlined in the specific policy. What else I need to mention in this? We mentioned about documentation, but we mentioned about the importance of ensure that enough details when it comes to your policy, especially when it comes to tracking of those, the outflow of sample and demonstration. So reasonableness, if you are giving a sample for a trial, you need to ensure that you're not giving 10 times a year, of course. So the outflow, the reasonableness, the rationale, all of that is a big control that companies to have in place, from documentation to tracking, and to monitoring that in case of demonstration equipment that are placed, that they are placed for the right period of time, and then they are removed on time, and all of that should be in place, of course. All right, so appropriateness of the record related to those is very important to be kept and to be maintained at all time. Next, please. I think I mentioned everything in the previous slide. Yeah, I said that. Okay. I already mentioned that, but one of the very important factors when it comes to sample and demonstration equipment, again, is to have a very well documented legal document, especially for demonstration equipment. So you have to have a legal document or a legal agreement, let's say, that outline all the terms and conditions over which you have agreed to do this kind of arrangement. So I'm giving you this demonstration equipment for 3 months to try whatever. All of this needs to be clearly defined. Timelines and all those specifications should be clearly mentioned in the documentation, just to avoid any conflict or any future dispute. Next, please. Famous topic, our lovely TPI. We love them. They're very important. They're maybe the most important part of the way we're operating and doing our business. A lot of control they're taking, especially when it comes to sales and marketing activities and all of that. However, due to the fact that we appreciate this partnership and we know the importance of this partnership, member companies are also required to understand the risk that are associated to this kind of partnership or a relation. Accordingly, a set of minimum requirements should be in place at all time when we are selecting or onboarding or even maintaining our relation with our third parties. The first part is always the selection criteria and the assessment of who are we onboarding or who are we, bringing as a partner. This will entail a lot of elements, including due diligence and screening of those healthcare third-party institutions. So a minimum screening, a minimum search should be in place and documented again very well and rationalized very well that you have assessed this TPI and against various risks, including integrity risk, of course, and you have selected the right partner. This is number one. This kind of due diligence is not happening once only. There is a frequency of continuous assessment of the risk that can come out from the same relationship. So there is a due diligence review that should be in place with the different frequency. I'm sure each member company, they have their own policy and how they manage their third party with their risk appetite to that. Training is a very important part of how we manage our third-party institution. So if you don't train your team members that are sitting on the most important part of your board, then you are taking a big risk. Training third-party sales and marketing team and anyone sitting acting on your behalf is very important. And finally, you should always ensure that your contractual agreement cover all the important terms and conditions and have the right element to ensure that your relation is healthy and clear. Next, please. Mecomed disclosure platform. All right. Disclosure platform is a website that Mecomed made it available for all of us during 2020. All member company, all of us, we decided that this is something to do from transparency perspective and so on. So ever since we decided that we will start disclosing all our education grants, and we have been doing this for a while. We started with UAE only, and currently the system covers all the Gulf country, not only UAE, Gulf country and Saudi Arabia, excluding Saudi Arabia. And if you're asking why, because Saudi Arabia, they have their own transparency reporting with Saudi FDA. So again, the scope of our disclosure reporting requirement and the platform of Mecomed is 1, to report education grant, 2, for all GCC country, excluding KSA. Next, please. With a lot of effort and as part of our continuous assessment and to ensure that we are providing the right service and support to all our stakeholders, Mecomed has also introduced during 2019 PCO HCO certification. This is one of the certification Mecomed is providing. I'm going to talk about the other one in the next slide. So the purpose is to provide this to dedicated professional conference organizer, or to healthcare organizer and medical association. It's a kind of certification to say that you are qualified because you know now about Mecomed and Mecomed code, and you have passed the exam. It's a certification that is given with the aim of as I said, to ensure that there is minimum alignment and awareness, and it's, by the way, free of charge. Yeah, that's it. When it comes to the PCO healthcare organization certification that are available, maybe my message here to you If at all necessary, you can always help us promote for those certification and advertise for them. And if you are in doubt, just contact with Ruba. She can give you more information on how to apply for them. The same for our distributors. Distributor certification were established in 2021. It's also dedicated from the our region, and it's again it's a set of alignment and knowledge and awareness that is provided to our TPI with a certificate and an exam that is conducted that at the end, and it's again free of charge. At the end, it will provide a certification to TPI as a partnership. As a certified partner that are provided by Mecomed in case of our TPIs. So again, we already have a number of third party that are recently also been interested on that. But if you know that any of your TPI that are not aware, please feel free to promote for that. And I'm sure Ruba throughout the year will be sending some more clarification or communication on that and how to apply for that, or simply you can contact her.
Thank you, Mira. I think this is
Are
it.
we done? Yeah,
yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Right, and it's great. We're on time. My God.
Yes, right on time.